Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Game Plan College's virtual info session with Appalachian State University. My name is Rachel Worsham, and I'm a post-secondary access advisor with the program. I'm here with my colleagues, Christina and Dwayne, as well as Tricia Smith, who is an admissions counselor at App State. So I'll just turn it over to you, Tricia.
Lovely. So hello, everyone. My name is Tricia Smith, and like was said, I am an admissions counselor at App State. I'm also actually a recent graduate of App State. I just finished last year with my degree in global studies, and I had a double minor in Spanish and nonprofit management. So I am just gonna share with y'all kind of our normal campus presentation that we kind of go through when students are on campus and able to visit with us. And if you all have any questions about any slides or things like that, I really like interactive presentations, so feel free to put stuff in the chat and things like that. So we can go ahead and get started here. I'm actually gonna share my screen so that y'all can see this presentation. I can figure this out. Give me just a second here. And then, here we go. So, hope you all can see everything. So, just kind of our normal welcome to App State. Again, we really love when students are able to come visit us on campus, but we know with everything going on, we really want people to stay safe and healthy and things like that. And if you all want, if you can put what grade you're in the chat, that would be super helpful, just so I can kind of keep that in mind with certain information points and things like that. So we like to always start with a little bit of history. So originally App State was founded as Watauga Academy, and we were founded in 1899, and so last year was our 120th anniversary, which is awesome. But we were originally founded as a place to educate local school children in the area, but also to train teachers. So we were originally founded as a teachers college. So education is definitely something that we keep near and dear to our hearts here at App, and it's something that we're really proud of our legacy in as well. So if you're thinking about teaching, definitely consider us. And then this is what campus looks like now. So we definitely have expanded some. We look quite differently. So we're actually at 375 acres on our main campus, and we are, as you see, nestled right here in the middle of the mountains. So it definitely looks like this when it's not rainy and cold like it is out here today. So this is kind of basically our main campus, and we have what we like to call East Campus and West Campus. It really just is one road that divides our campus. So it's about 15 to 20 minutes to walk from one side to the other. So it's not super big, which is awesome. And we welcome about 3,000 new first year students every year. And just last year, we hit over 19,000 total enrollment. Lovely. We've got seniors and juniors. And we also now have over 150 majors for our students to choose from, so we have a lot more opportunities than our founders could have ever hoped for us. We have a number of different programs. If you all want to put in the chat maybe what majors or programs you're thinking about, we can definitely keep that in mind. And if I see anything on this presentation that might pertain to you, I'll point it out to you if that's cool. So let's move forward. So this is our lovely campus in winter. Sadly, we did not get a big snow like this year, but this is the point that we really like to talk about our values as a campus. And seeing that some of you all are kind of rising juniors, rising seniors, things like that, looking into your college process, we really kind of recommend that when you're thinking about different schools, think about what the institution's values are. What are the things that they want to instill in their students? And for us at App State, we have 4 main guiding principles, and they are sustainability, diversity and inclusion, community engagement, and global learning. And so those are things that as we go through this presentation, I'll kind of point them out as we go, but they're really values that we want our students to carry with them after they graduate as well. So students come to App State for what we like to call the Mountaineer experience, the Appalachian experience, and that really is kind of these stats at the bottom of the screen. So we are a leading public institution in the South, and we like to say that we offer big campus opportunities with a small campus feel, and that's definitely something that I loved as a student. So I actually was a transfer student, so I went to 2 other schools before I came to App. So I had a varying experience, But yeah, that small campus feel definitely is 100% accurate. I never felt like I couldn't talk to my professors, like I couldn't meet with them about something, whether it be academic or in my personal life. I felt like my professors were there to support me, and I think that's something that's really unique about our campus. We keep our student to faculty ratio pretty low, as you'll see on the screen, and then also we have a pretty low class size as well. And about 99% of our full-time faculty are actually in the highest degree in their field. So they're doing a lot of amazing work and really specific work as well, and they're sharing that with our students, which is an awesome opportunity. I'm just going to see if we have any questions. Good. So we have a few different kind of larger categories, but you really can thrive in whatever your field is. So if that's something maybe in the sciences, music school, education like our founders, math, business is also a popular option, or sustainability. That's definitely something that we really have that's unique up here at App. And yes, they will have you in the creek for lab sometimes, so it's pretty cool, but you really get to thrive in your field and use a lot of different innovative technologies and meet with different professors and students from all different backgrounds, which is pretty awesome, I think. And kind of talking about study abroad here. So this is one of my favorite slides in this presentation because I was a global studies major and I love traveling, and study abroad is definitely something that was really important to me when looking into a school. If any of y'all are thinking about study abroad, let me know in the chat and we can kind of touch on that a little bit. So yeah, if you'll see on the screen there, we are 4th in the nation for students studying abroad, and that's at a master's granting institution. And about a quarter of our students will actually study abroad with us as well. So that can be a year-long program, summer-long program, or a semester-long program. So we have a lot of different options. Personally, for me, when I was a student, I opted to do a summer-long program. And in my first summer after being at App State, so I transferred in the spring. So my first summer, I was actually able to go to Cuba for 2 weeks with a small group of students and 2 or 3 faculty members, and we studied Cuban food and Cuban dance, and that definitely, for me, shaped the rest of my plan of study. I had more of a focus on Latin America. I kind of really dove deep into my interest in social dancing, so I'm an avid social dancer. I actually have my little App State swing dance shirt on today. I'm definitely missing them. But yeah, so study abroad for me was an awesome experience, and I definitely met some of my closest friends there. Actually met my current climbing partner on that trip. We were roommates during that whole trip, and you know, up until this year, we met basically every single week to go rock climbing after that, after our trip when we came back to Boone. And then I also have amazing connections with the faculty members and things like that. I was able to come back and perform in a salsa piece that we showcased up here in Boone, kind of touching on some of the things that we learned while we were in Cuba, which was awesome. But maybe if study abroad isn't something that you're super committed to or really want to do, we still have kind of opportunities to get that international experience, that global learning perspective, but domestically. So on the screen here, you will see Team Synergy. They are a club on campus, and what they do, which is super awesome, is they build, design, and race fully functioning solar cars. So like I mentioned, sustainability is a big thing here at App, and this is something that really kind of showcases that. So we're actually one of 2 liberal arts institutions that competes in the American Solar Challenge, and we do not have a School of Engineering. So we have students in this club from a variety of majors on campus, things like sustainable building sciences, we have music majors, art majors, communications, music industry studies, because you want a good sound system in your car, and applied physics and things like that. So students from all over campus participate in this, and they were actually slated to go race this car in the Outback, I believe this past year. So that's a really awesome opportunity for them, and sometimes you'll see these solar cars on campus events for things like that, but we actually placed second in this challenge, which is pretty cool. Okay. And so community engagement, campus engagement is super important. It's definitely something that you want to kind of make sure that you get involved in when you're on school. You're going to be at a university for 4 years. You definitely want to make sure that you kind of have a chance to get involved. So we have plenty of clubs and organizations on campus for you to be involved in, over 400, and everything from, swing dance club like I was in, but we also have slacklining and beekeeping, gardening. We have a Star Wars club. If any of y'all are Harry Potter fans, for instance, we have a nationally ranked Quidditch team on campus, which is pretty cool. But Besides clubs and organizations, we also have residential learning communities. And what those are basically themed halls in dorms. And they kind of allow you to have this community right off the bat. And they are themed around different kind of interests that you might have. So we have one called Black and Gold, so it's really into school spirit, but we also have ones on sustainability and social justice. We have ones for health science students, if that's something that you're thinking about. And I see we've got some chats in here. Lovely, we've got some more rising seniors. Love that. But we also have over 150 of those clubs that I mentioned are actually focused on the community. So again, community engagement, super important. Community service is also really big here as well. So we have this very large organization on campus called the ACT office, which stands for Appalachian and the Community Together. And they host a number of really large events for our students on campus. Everything from typically around this time of the year, they would be doing Don't Throw It Away, which is where they collect items from the residence halls and dorms and communities that people maybe don't want anymore. Maybe they're moving off campus and they don't need some of these things anymore. And at the beginning of the school year, they'll actually do this thing called the big sale, where they kind of sell all of those things that they collected, and you can use that to furnish your dorm again. And actually a good portion of the furniture in my house has actually come from the big sale, so it's open to the community, and it's a great way not only to kind of keep things out of landfills, but also to kind of meet your community members and support the community. And all that money that is raised during that is actually donated back to nonprofits in Boone. So it's a great partnership that we have with the community, and also a good point on sustainability. So that's just one of the events, or technically two of the events that they host every year, but they also host a number of other things for students on campus. They have alternative service experiences, which are basically during your winter, fall, and spring breaks. You can go on a week-long community service event, and those can be regional, domestic, international. There's a number of different opportunities for students to do that as well. We have 33 sororities and fraternities on campus. If Greek life is something that you're thinking about, we have a lot of different options for you. We have 4 councils represented on campus. So IFC, NPC, NPHC, and Multicultural Greek Council. So again, we have a number of different organizations represented, and if Greek life is something that you're thinking about, they're definitely doing amazing community service work on campus as well. They're about 14% of our student body on campus. And then you'll see on the other side over there, we have about 27 multicultural and international clubs on campus. And again, that kind of points back to that diversity and inclusion point that I mentioned. So there's a number of different activities and events that they host throughout the year, which is pretty cool. Moving on, we also have sports is definitely a big thing up here. If some of you may not know, we actually have a really great football program up here. We were actually nationally ranked this past year. We were number 20 in the nation, which is awesome. And we are a D1 school, so all of our varsity sports, and there's 20 of them, are D1. But maybe if varsity isn't a level you want to compete at, we've got 21 club sports and over 80 intramurals for you to participate in. So athletics is super popular up here also. But kind of stepping back and talking about sustainability a little bit more, it's one of my favorite things about App is our kind of commitment to sustainability and trying to set an example within our part of the state as well. But yeah, one of our awesome opportunities that we have if you're interested in sustainability is our Sustainable Development Teaching and Research Farm. It's actually 30 minutes off campus in Ashe County, and it is beautiful. It's super, super big, and it's fully faculty and student powered. So there's a number of livestock and crops on that farm, and students get experience in a variety of different growing methods and styles. And it really gives them that hands-on opportunity to kind of learn about this region as well. And personally for me, I was not a sustainable development major like I mentioned, but for my kind of concentration in global studies, I had a large focus on art. And so I took a class that was cross-taught between the art department and sustainable development, which is not a typical pairing at all. And we actually took a trip out to the farm on our last day of class to do an Appalachian studies lesson, which is really unique, I think, as well. We're kind of one of the few schools that has an Appalachian studies department on campus. So we actually went out to the farm and did an oral history lesson about the American chestnut blight and how it specifically affected this region. And we kind of went out and we walked around the farm, learned some about the oral history. We wrote forest poetry and all kinds of other things. So it was a really fun day, but it was really a beautiful experience out on the farm, and it's awesome. And they do farm tours as well. If you are maybe interested, maybe once we are kind of able to be back on campus and able to host tours, definitely look into a sustainable development farm tour because it's super cool. And again, a lot of that kind of sustainability mindset comes from this area that we're in. We are in the Blue Ridge Mountains. We do have Piscataway National Forest is right near campus as well. Blue Ridge Parkway runs through a lot of North Carolina, actually 252 miles, I believe, through North Carolina. So we definitely are an outdoorsy school. There's a lot of opportunities for things like you see on the screen here. Snow days are super fun on campus. And then also we are definitely a college town. So our student population actually doubles the population of Boone when we are in session. So college life is really, really important to us. And this is actually a picture on King Street, which is our main street on campus, and it's on the backside of our campus. So it's walking distance, and there's a lot of great restaurants and small businesses and stores that you can go out and kind of purchase things from and kind of just interact with the community. A lot of our community members, students, faculty, staff kind of hang out and utilize King Street a lot. So it's definitely one of my favorite areas in this town that we're in. And this is the Blue Ridge Parkway. This is a beautiful picture of what it looks like in fall. This is on the Linco Viaduct, which is, I believe, the last part of the Blue Ridge Parkway to be finished, and definitely one of the most iconic parts of the parkway. And yes, it does really look like this. And maybe if you're not a super outdoorsy person and you don't really like hiking and things like that, you can definitely take a drive on the Blue Ridge, and it's just as beautiful. And actually in this picture, so kind of the mountain that you're seeing up to the side, past the viaduct where it curves around, that's actually part of a hike called Rough Ridge that a lot of our students go on, and it's a really popular hike. It's super easy for the most part. It's basically like rock stairs that you go up, but it has this beautiful view when you get up to the top, and you can take the iconic Rough Ridge picture where you're kind of like sitting on this rock ledge, and if you send it to your parents, you'll probably scare them half to death, but it's totally fine. It's definitely safe, but it's a beautiful place to go when it's nice out. So kind of touching on that outdoor point, we are the #1 college for outdoor adventures. So if you are into outdoorsy things, there's plenty of opportunities for you. Like I mentioned, I'm really into rock climbing, but we also have winter sports. So skiing and snowboarding are really big up here. And we have 3 ski resorts in the area. And you can actually take skiing and snowboarding as PE classes for credit. So that's awesome. Personally, I did not do it. I'm not a huge fan of the snow, but I know several students that have, and they absolutely love it because it's, you know, a super great way to kind of get that PE credit out of the way, because you'll have to do 2 of them, and kind of get to learn a new sport, which is pretty awesome. But we also have plenty of hiking trailheads within driving distance, and again, we have the Blue Ridge Parkway right in our backyard. Basically, it's like a 10 to 20-minute drive, and what I recommend is doing is going out on a clear night, because you can see arms of the Milky Way. And for my intro science class, I took astronomy, and I was able to kind of go out on the parkway and kind of point out stars. And we actually have one of our very large observatories that was NASA funded is actually out on the parkway as well. That's available for our astronomy students, and they have community days typically once a month where you can go out and look through the big telescopes, and it's awesome. And then if you ever want to venture off the mountain for maybe some concerts and, you know, events, if you are from any of these areas, this is kind of where we are in relation to it. And I forgot to mention, I'm actually from Durham, so I'm very familiar with Emily K Center and Durham as a whole. So I'm Bull City bred, Bull City born. So I have definitely made that 3-hour drive up the mountain. So it's not too bad, but yeah, if you're just going up 40, it's about 3 hours away from where we are. We're about 2 hours out from Asheville and Charlotte, and then about 5 hours out from Wilmington. And of course, you'll know we have RDU as our closest airport, but Greensboro and Charlotte also have airports if ever you need to go to one of them, or for whatever reason and things like that. So that's just kind of where we are in relation to you all. And now we can kind of get into the nitty gritty of the application process. And again, if y'all have any questions, feel free to ask me as well. So we are on the Common Application, and I'm sure several of you might know what that is, but in case you don't, it is basically a super application that you can send to multiple schools, and you kind of fill out all this information, you do one essay, and that gets sent to all the schools that you have in that Common Application. So for your application to be considered complete for us, you will need to complete that online Common Application. You'll need to submit an application fee of $65, or if you are fee waiver eligible, we take fee waivers, we take NACAC, SAT, and ACT fee waivers. You'll just need to send that to us, and on the application there's a box where you can check fee waiver. We'll need your test scores, so SAT and ACT, or ACT, sorry. We'll take either or, and we don't need the writing section for either test. We will super score, so if you take the test more than once, we will take the highest sub-score and give you the highest composite score that we can. And if you take ACT and SAT, we'll just take whichever one's higher. You can self-report that to us on your My Mountaineer portal, which you'll get after you complete your application, and we will use your self-reported scores in the review process. And then if you decide to enroll, then we'll need the official score copies. Sorry, something's in my eye. There we go. So you can also send us the official score report right off the bat if you want to as well. Let's see, I see we have a question here. Have there been any changes to your testing requirements due to COVID? So at this point, there have not been. We are still required to have at least one test score on file currently, and that is more of a UNC system regulation as well at this point. So I know some of the testing agencies, so the ACT and College Board, I believe, are trying to work with students in terms of getting online options available to students and things like that. So I would just keep an eye out. If that changes, we will absolutely let students know, but at this point, we're still requiring test scores for applications. And then, let's see, is there a minimum score and GPA requirements? So technically, yes, because we are a UNC system school, there are minimum scores, but typically our students that are accepted, we like to give the middle 50% range. So of all the students that are accepted, they tend to have at least a 3.9 to a 4.4 weighted GPA, either a 23 to the 28 on the ACT or an 1120 to 1290 on the SAT. And like I said, that's just that middle 50%, 25% have higher, 25% have lower, and that's not the requirement. But that's just typically where our student ranges lie in terms of accepted students. When is the best time for juniors to submit applications? And what is something y'all are looking for? Yeah, absolutely. So we will, and I'll actually cover deadlines in just a moment, so we'll get there, but there are two deadlines. We have an early action and a regular decision. And I think it's actually maybe the next slide that we will go over that. So I'm gonna finish up this and then we can get to that one. So what else is required for the application? So we'll also need your high school transcripts, of course, and then if anyone in here is an early college student, middle college student, or just dually enrolled anywhere, we're also going to need copies of your college transcripts, and we will need them separate from your high school ones, and that's just because on a college transcript, the credits and GPA are broken down a little bit differently than when they're all combined on one transcript. And then we have two recommended materials on campus. I'll actually go back to this. We have two recommended materials. And so again, they're recommended, not required, but I'd say they're highly recommended and they're really the best way to advocate for yourself on your application. And those are a list of activities. So anything outside of school that you are doing, and that can be clubs and organizations, but that can also be if you work part-time or if you maybe babysit your younger siblings or you care for an elderly grandparent, things like that. So all of that counts, and we just it helps us to review you more holistically outside of your test scores and grades, so we can kind of see what else you're doing, because we know that y'all have lives outside of school. You're not just test scores, so we like to see what our students are doing as well in the application. And then the other recommended material is an interest statement, and that is because, like I mentioned, the Common App gets sent to multiple schools, so that one essay gets sent to all 3 or 4, 5, 14 schools that you apply to. So it doesn't really have a chance to be super personalized, but your interest statement is that chance. So the interest statement is just like 250 words, and it's kind of, why do you want to be a mountaineer? What is it about App State that gets you excited? Is it, did you go on a super cool campus tour? Did you talk with a faculty member that you are really interested in working with? Is it, our focus on sustainability? Or maybe you just want to be in the mountains. Just kind of tell us what it is about App State that's special to you or that makes you excited as well. So moving forward, like I mentioned, so those deadlines that we talked about. For those, there's two. So we have early action and we have regular decision. Early action is really what we stress our students apply by, and this is important for scholarships, which I'll touch on in just a moment, but it's also important for just our application kind of pool. So we actually select the most of our applicants from this early action pool. So every decision after that gets a little bit more competitive. So we really stress that you apply by early action. Early action is non-binding for us, so it's just apply early, get your decision earlier. And I'll mention this at the end of the presentation too, but our application actually opens on August 1st every year. So just keep that date in mind. That's when you'll be able to log in and start applying if you would like to apply early. So we will need your completed Common App application into us by November 1st, and then we'll need all of those supporting materials in by November 15th. So just about 2 weeks later, and supporting materials are just your transcripts, test scores, things like that. And you'll definitely get a decision by January 25th at the latest. Regular decision has a similar structure, so you'll need to get that application in by February 1st, materials in by February 15th. You'll get your decision by March 15th. So moving forward, talking about scholarships, which is definitely super important. So like I mentioned, that early action decision date, early action applicants, if you apply by early action, you're automatically considered for 2 scholarships, Appalachian Excellence Scholarship and the Access Scholarship. And Access is super awesome. We will need your FAFSA in by December 1st, and I'm assuming that most of you all are North Carolina residents as well. So it's a North Carolina resident only scholarship. Access is actually a full ride, and it is need-based. So that's why we need that FAFSA in by December in order to kind of consider you for that one. But we actually award about 50 Access scholarships every year. So we had a question here. When is the best time? Yes. Okay, lovely. You're welcome. And then on the other side of the page here, you'll see our other scholarship applications. So that is something to point out, is that I know that some schools have their application first and then you apply for scholarships. Ours you do at the same time. So you will kind of, as you're completing your college application for us, or after you complete it, you will then submit your scholarship application to us. And so that scholarship application, you'll see the deadline there is the 15th, which is the materials deadline for early action. So just kind of keep that in mind. Think of the scholarship application as an additional material if that helps. So our signature scholarship application is just 3 kind of short essays, and it allows you to be considered for all of the potential scholarships that you are eligible for. So we have a number of different ones, and after I close the presentation, I'll actually put the link in there for that too, because there's a number of different ones, and they all kind of have, maybe different programs or majors or things like that. So you can kind of read about all of them, but you don't have to select, like, I only want to apply for the Chancellor Scholarship. As long as you complete the whole scholarship application, you're going to be looked at for every scholarship. We also have selective academic programs. So we have an honors college. We have this thing called Watauga Residential College, and we also have Appalachian Community of Education Scholars, which is called ACES on campus. So honors college is just what it sounds like. It's more of an academically rigorous experience. You'll complete an honors thesis by the time you graduate. There's definitely kind of leadership opportunities and definitely a close-knit community as well. We actually get an honors memo every Wednesday from the Dean of the Honors College, just telling us about what honors college students are up to, what they're doing, maybe who's defending their thesis, if they had activities, things like that, which is super awesome. And then Watauga Residential College is a super awesome program. It's based on residential college models from the UK, and what they like to say is that they learn where they live and they live where they learn. And it's just what it sounds like. So they live in this building called the Living Learning Center, which is right across from the Living Learning Academic. It's kind of a U shape as well. And so in the Living Learning Center is where your dorms are, but there's also classrooms built into there. So you will sometimes basically have class, right down the hall from where you sleep. And they're definitely a really close-knit community. They have classes also in the Living Learning Academic, and across there they also have lunches together like once or twice a week with lecture series and things like that. So they're a super close-knit community. There's a lot of cross-disciplinary learning and experience. There's actually no tests in Watauga. They do a lot of their grading through kind of class participation and projects and essays and stuff like that, so that you can kind of really dig into whatever the material is that you're discussing for that class. And then ACES is kind of similar to a residential learning community, but it is also a leadership program as well. And it's 4 years long, and it's for our students that are thinking about becoming teachers. So if you're thinking about education, definitely look into ACES. It's a super awesome program. And then kind of talking about costs here, we're mainly just going to focus on the in-state side, which is the 15,000 number. And so we are actually one of the more affordable universities in the UNC system. And that 15,000 number you're seeing on the screen is an institutional year. So that is your tuition and fees your standard room and board, your standard meal plan, and most of your textbooks is included in that number. We work on a super awesome textbook rental fee system here. It's like a small fee that's put into tuition and basically allows you to get most of your textbooks through rental, so you don't have to buy them. So it saves our students a ton of money. If you ever find yourself in kind of a niche major like I was, and maybe you have to buy some more textbooks or novels, like supplemental things like that, you can opt out of the textbook rental fee program if you think that will be more beneficial to you. So, but it's already automatically included, and that's just because typically professors have rental textbooks kind of in their curriculum. So that is what a full year at App State roughly looks like. Financial aid, of course, is another important thing for our students. About 70% of our students are receiving some kind of aid, and that can be grants, employment, loans, or scholarships. And we really encourage all students to apply for the FAFSA, even if you don't think you'll qualify. You never know what might be offered to you. FAFSA opens every year on October 1st, so again, keep that date in mind. And then there's a priority deadline date of March 1st. We have a question here. Are there special diets accommodated in the dining halls? Yes. So everything in our dining halls, so we kind of have a few main categories labeled on foods and things. So anything that's vegan, vegetarian, gluten-free is, or contains nuts, typically is labeled on there. But if you have other specific food allergy concerns, or you're worried about cross-contamination, things like that, what you'll do is when you kind of go up to order, you will just kind of let someone know, like, hey, I have, you know, these dietary concerns or these food allergies, and they do have specialized kind of cookware and spaces that they prepare food in for students that might have allergies and concerns like that. We do offer a number of different kind of dining hall options as well. So we have kind of your standard kind of home style things. We have, you know, burgers, fries, pizza, all of that. We have a Chick-fil-A in one of ours. We also have one station that is fully vegan and vegetarian. They have a different menu every day, and that's for the most of our stations on campus. We've got, you know, pasta stations, stir fry stations, all kinds of things like that. We have a full service McAllister's and a half McAllister's to go basically on campus also. So there's definitely a number of diets that can be accommodated on campus as well. Good question. So moving forward past financial aid, just kind of wrapping up here a little bit. This is typically where we end our part of the presentation. Our ambassadors take over, but I'll just kind of open it up for questions to y'all and maybe flip through some of the pictures if you want, so you can kind of see campus a little bit more. But kind of wrapping up here, talking about the value of an Appalachian education. For us, that really is that our students feel supported and prepared while they're here, and that helps them as they're getting ready to leave us. So that's definitely reflected in the number of students that participate in internships. That's something that's really popular. That's about half of our student body, that number there on screen, that are participating in internships. And that might be because their major or minor requires it, but also just because our faculty encourages it, because it allows you to, you know, not only be a more competitive applicant, but also it just allows you to have that hands-on learning experience and kind of see if that, you know, is this a field that I want to go into and spend the rest of my life in? Maybe I should do an internship and find out, and things like that. So we have a lot of resources on campus for things, again, like research, jobs, internships, all kind of things like that. We have departments on campus that handle that, and they're super awesome. Definitely Career Services is an amazing resource for our students. They host, you know, resume reviews like every week. They currently, since we're online, they actually have just gone remote for our students. They're still hosting college fairs and career panels for students now, things like that. We've got some questions in here. What % of graduates find a job before graduation? Ooh, that is a good question. And I'm not actually sure about before graduation. So you'll see that bottom percentage down there. That's the number of students that are either employed or in school within a year of graduation. So that's definitely above the national average. But I'm not sure the number that find jobs before. Personally, I know that I've had, you know, several friends that have graduated with job offers. And I think it kind of, in some cases, can also depend on your field or what you plan to go into. For instance, for me, since I was global study, a lot of us were applying for things like Fulbright or Peace Corps by the time we were graduating. So that process takes a little bit longer, but I did have a friend in computer science who graduated with a job offer before college, things like that. I actually had a friend who is now a town council member who ran for town council up here before graduation, and then right after he graduated was sworn in as a town council member. So we definitely have a lot of success stories. Let's see. Regarding the senior who was admitted for 2024. is it too late to receive any substantial aid? So I would still recommend submitting the FAFSA. Even at this point, it definitely won't hurt you. And then for more specific questions for financial aid, I would actually reach out to the financial aid department and I can get you their contact information if you would like. And then do we have pre-law school or classes like that? So we actually have a pre-law designation, and we have a number of these for health sciences as well, a lot of medical health profession pre-designations. And so what those are basically concentrations that you attach onto a major. So for pre-law, our pre-legal studies is attached onto poli-sci, so political science. And so you get specialized advising through those designations to make sure that you're ready and prepared to apply for law school or med school or vet school, anything like that once you graduate. So we don't have a law school on campus, but we do kind of have that preparation program to help you get ready for that as well. So I'm gonna kind of put it on our lovely slide here. And if y'all have more questions, I am happy to answer them for you. And then I guess if anyone wants to know, if you want to see more pictures of campus, I can kind of click through these next few slides here and tell y'all a little bit as we go, but feel free to go ahead and ask questions now. I want to open the floor up to y'all to know what we can do to help y'all. Lovely, we've got some questions in the chat here. Are freshmen allowed to bring cars on campus? Yes, so we do have freshmen are absolutely allowed to bring a car. You will have to park it in a freshman satellite lot, which is maybe about like 10 minutes away from campus, but we do have a dedicated bus system up here called Apple Cart, and one of the Apple Cart routes goes only to that satellite lot. So and it runs basically every 10 minutes, so it's pretty easy to get to your car. Can you tell us why you chose App and why it is a good choice for students from Durham? Absolutely. Yeah, so for me, I actually chose App a little bit on a whim. I went, like I mentioned, I was a transfer student, so I went to 2 different schools beforehand. I originally was a global studies major, and then I was like, actually, I want to do something else. And then I was in community college at Durham Tech, actually for a year. And I did an internship during that time as well in New York. And I was just like, actually, I think I do want to do global studies. I think that is where my passion is. So I was just looking for UNC system schools that had global studies originally, and there's not that many. And I had missed the deadline for a few, and App was on rolling admissions for transfer students. So I just applied. I had never been to campus. I hadn't been up to this area since I was like 7 and going to Tweetsie Railroad. So I just applied on a whim and got in. And I really like to talk about why I stayed at App more so than why I chose it, because I chose it because they had my major and it wasn't too far away. So for me, I stayed at App because of the community. And that's really what I love most about this school and about this area is the fact that we have such a close-knit community. I was able to, again, meet some of my best friends up here. I have amazing connections with some of the faculty members up here, but also I just love that everyone here just seems like they have a really big passion about whatever that is. And it could be, you know, I'm really passionate about salamanders, or it could be I'm really interested in sustainability and climate change, and a number of different things. And whatever that is, I think that there's a community here for you for that passion. For me, it was social dancing. So I was in the swing dance club and rock climbing, and that kind of fueled my interest in a number of different ways. It kind of fueled my passion for, again, sustainability and social justice and things like that through the lenses of my hobbies as well. So I chose that because I really was able to find a community of people and friends and mentors here that support me. And I think that's really possible for all of our students on campus. And then also just other pluses of why I think it's good for students from Durham. So again, I'm from Durham. It's only 3 hours away. It's not too far, but it is far enough if you want to get a little bit away. And also, again, that price point. So we are one of the most affordable UNC system schools, and I think that's a really awesome option. And then again, kind of going back to that community point, something that I love being from Durham is that I had a close-knit community, but you know, Durham is pretty big. We're pretty spread out as well. But Boone is so close. And every year that I'm here more, I love that I get closer to this community. I love that I find, you know, local artists to support. I find, you know, I can go and listen to local student musicians. A number of the art and things that I have in my office and in my home are actually from current students or from recent students. I love that I can go to the climbing gym and then go to a local coffee shop, and that's also the person that, you know, maybe teaches a random PE class or something on campus, things like that. So there's a lot of really cool community connections up here, and I think that is a really interesting experience coming from a bigger city like Durham. Are there opportunities for virtual tours at your institution? Yes. So there are opportunities for virtual tours. So we are doing virtual campus visits on campus, and we have a number of other virtual experiences as well. You can meet with a counselor one-on-one if you want, through similar to a Zoom meeting. We also have a Zoom lobby. It's open 8 to 5. So basically anytime you maybe just want to pop in and ask a question, you can go into the Zoom lobby and talk to you, and they will talk to you about whatever it is. And I can provide you the links for those in just a moment here in the chat. And what is the first word that comes to mind when defining your campus culture? Why do you think this word best defines your campus culture? Oh, I love that question. So again, just kind of, it's community for me. And that really is because we are so closely knit. And again, like I said, we offer those big campus opportunities, but at the end of the day, you know, you might see somebody that you see all the time on campus. You are kind of always in these positions to be able to foster these connections with students and with faculty members and community members. I don't think I would have gotten that at another school or at a larger institution where a lot of our clubs may be open to the community members. So for instance, for me in swing dance, a good maybe 3 to 5 of our club members were actually just community members that just want to hang out and dance. We actually go to dance community events as well, and I'll see the same people there. So I really think that it's community here. I think that's super important in this area, and definitely kind of in this region as well, is that connection on community relations and things like that. What was the most challenging time at App State? And what campus resources did you use to navigate through this challenging period? So actually, I'd say my most challenging period was probably my first semester. So like I mentioned, I transferred in. I actually transferred in from a very small school, not pretty small school, a very small school. There were maybe about 20 of us. And we were actually on a study abroad program, and it's a weird program, but it was super fun. I definitely loved that experience. But we had a lot of freedom and leeway in that program that I was not accustomed to not having when I got to school. So I was like, oh, I have like deadlines that I have to actually submit papers by, and I have to know how to like write a specific format of research paper and things like that. And I just was so stressed. Amongst other things, I had also, kind of like a silly thing now, but I had also just like gotten out of a relationship when I came to App, and I was just a mess my first semester. But I was able to kind of use some of those campus resources. So I met with my advisor and was just like, this is what's going on. I need a little bit more guidance and things like that. So office hours with professors, library research assistants. We have these things called RAP sessions, which I think is Research Assistance Program. I believe that's what it stands for. But basically, you can kind of set up a one-on-one with a library professional, and they will kind of help you find resources for your papers. We have a writing center on campus in the library as well, and that definitely and then we also have tutoring center. Like I mentioned, my Spanish minor, I would not have graduated with my Spanish minor if I didn't have tutoring services. So all of those kind of resources I was able to kind of find through my advisor and just through knowing different parts of campus. And I think all of those resources really helped me kind of get through that first semester and really get acclimated as well. So that's a good question. Thank you. You may have mentioned this, but is on-campus housing guaranteed for all 4-year students, for all 4 years? So it is not. Housing is guaranteed and required for all first-year students coming in. And then after that, it is a lottery system, and it's also just kind of up to you. So a lot of students do move off campus. So I mentioned we're about 19,000 total enrollment roughly. About 12,000 of our students actually live off campus. And so it's very common for students to live off campus, definitely within their last 2 years. But we have a number of different apartment complexes and houses and things like that that students rent from as well. So it's pretty common to live off campus. And you still don't necessarily need a car to commute to campus unless you live pretty far out, because our Apple Cart bus system runs to a lot of major areas as well. So I am actually going to pause sharing this, and I'm gonna try and bring up some links that might be important for you all. And I think we have one more question here. if students choose to live on campus for all years, is it possible? So that can sometimes be pretty tricky, and again, it's just because of that lottery system as well. So I do know certain students that live on campus all 4 years that have, but a lot of students typically won't. I was kind of lucky as a transfer student. I was able to live on campus for most of my time, and then just in my last year, I wasn't able to get on campus housing, but I was still pretty easily able to find an apartment with a friend as well. If you are in any kind of specialty academic program, those like honors college, you have the option to live on campus all 4 years if you would like. And then, you know, if you're a student athlete or an access scholar, they are also able to live on campus all 4 years. So there's a number of kind of exceptions for all 4 years, but most students will not live on campus all 4 years. So I'm actually going to stop sharing my screen now, and I'm going to pull up some links in here. I know someone mentioned scholarship, so I'm going to actually put the scholarships link in here in the chat. As well, but continue to ask questions. Now we're asking some awesome questions. I love this. So there's the scholarships link in there. Let's see. I just want to make sure that I answered all of these. Yes. Okay, and I'm also going to give you the virtual visits information too. So virtual visits and kind of anything virtually that we're doing, you're going to find at that link. So that's where you'll find the link to sign up for our virtual campus visits. Our one-on-ones or Zoom lobby link is in there. We also have like a virtual tour on there that kind of basically takes you through like photo and video of campus. And that's a really great option to see campus before, if you haven't seen it. And then I'm trying to see if there's any other important links in here that we have as well. Do any of y'all have questions about maybe specific programs on campus or things like that? Oh, yes, I can definitely share the rest of those photos with you. I was actually just about to pull it back up. Okay, so let's get back into screen sharing. Yeah, so this is typically where our ambassadors take off. And again, here is another important link for you just to connect with your admissions counselors. So currently your admissions counselor is Connor Brannon, but he is actually going to PA school in the fall. So you will have a new admissions counselor in the fall. So just keep that in mind. So here, this is our mascot. His name is Yosef. He is a big statue on campus as well. And you'll see his face kind of all over the place. And you'll also see the treat Yosef as well. We love to use lots of fun acronyms and puns here on campus. I've got a chat question. Yeah, we're so excited for Connor. He's awesome. But yeah, we're definitely going to miss him. He's been here with us so many years, and he was a student ambassador as well, I believe. So just kind of going through some of these. So that's that tour picture that I mentioned. This is actually that LLC that I mentioned earlier. So on the left side, you're seeing the Living Learning Center. That's the dorm where there's some classrooms in it, and the Living Learning Academic is on the other side. So there's like more classrooms and departments based out of there. There is this really big space called the Great Hall, which is actually, fun fact, the only building on campus that has hardwood floors. And I would know this because we dance up there for swing dance all the time, but it's a really cool place. That's where Watauga students have lunch. And yes, you will see them out in the lawn like this. And in the back, there's a parking lot that they play Foursquare in. Awesome. So again, we have a 50-foot rock climbing wall actually in our student union, which is pretty cool. I've definitely spent a good amount of time here. I actually took the rock climbing class as well. It's a PE credit class that you can take, and you can get belay certified and things like that. So it was a really cool installation in our student recreation center. It's our biggest one on campus. We've got a lot of facilities in there, an Olympic-sized swimming pool, indoor tracks, basketball courts, all kinds of things like that. This is our Broyhill wind turbine, and this is also a great kind of above view of campus. So that wind turbine is actually on the highest point on campus and was actually for the most part fully student funded through our renewable energy initiative on campus. What are some of the demographics of the student body, male to female ethnicity? Male to female is a good question, and I'm not sure. I think they're fairly close, but I believe we have more female students than male. And then ethnicity, we are about at 17.2 or 17.4% in terms of underrepresented minority groups on campus, so ethnicity-wise on campus, about 17%. And then for faculty and staff, I believe it's about 11.2% for underrepresented faculty members on campus. This is our new Leon Levine Center. It was just built last year, so this building's like not even a year old. This is where, if you're thinking about health sciences, so nursing, exercise science, communication sciences, things like that, this is where you'll spend a lot of your time. I was never a student that was in any of those classes, and I also graduated by the time this building was basically finished, so I didn't really get to go in there. But I have gotten to do research studies, so I was a part of students' research studies, so I've gotten to go in here and like basically like be tested on. So I've gotten to do like a VO2 max test and find out my lung capacity, and there's a lot of really cool labs in here. And there's also a super yummy cafe. This is one of our performing arts centers, Schaefer Center. We have a lot of cool speakers. Nikki Giovanni came this year. Jesse Jackson's come here. If any of you all, I don't know if y'all are too young to know Jesse McCartney, but Jesse McCartney performed here. Kesha has performed on campus, Migos, Lil Wayne, Rainbow Kitten Surprise, a few different people have come and performed here. I've seen Dance Theater of Harlem here as well, which is pretty cool. So we've got a lot of cool activities on campus that we bring for our students and community members. Typically in the summer, we also have Appalachian Summer Dance Festival. So a lot of cool dance companies will come here and perform too. This is our inside our Walker College of Business. This is the Center for Entrepreneurship. If any of y'all have seen the show Shark Tank, it's basically Shark Tank, but like way nicer. So you can come here and pitch your business ideas to professionals, potentially get funding for them if business and entrepreneurship is something that you're interested in. We have this really cool success story called Appalachian Cookie Co. They have the best cookies in Boone, hands down, and they were actually born out of the Center for Entrepreneurship. It was actually a student that was making cookies in his dorm and decided that that's what he wanted to do. And he went here and they got funding, and they're awesome. They also have a location in Charlotte now, and they ship. So basically anytime, these cookies are so good, anytime I would come home, I was basically contractually obliged by my parents to bring home App Cookie Co. cookies. So I would always, before leaving and coming down 40, I would go and get App Cookie Co. and bring it down to them. So they're definitely worth the drive and the wait. Like I mentioned, I was in astronomy class. This is the astronomy lab, so our telescope lab. There's actually a lot of really cool stuff here. This is actually partially NASA funded, which is awesome. And yes, I was out here at 8 to 10 o'clock doing lab, but there's also a 10 to midnight lab. So if you are not a morning person like me, you can take astronomy and do your lab at night. And we'll kind of just click through some more of these. We have a lot of construction on campus right now. You'll see in that bottom corner, we're actually in the process of building 4 new dorms on campus. So that is, if you go to this link, you can kind of see what the future plans are. Can you tell me about the African dance program, and do you know Mr. Price? I believe his name, is it Sharon Price? I think that's his last name. We just call him Sharon. I love him. He's awesome. I have taken, I've taken only like one kind of class here and there with him. When I was, again, going on that Cuba program, he actually taught us an African dance lesson, an African music lesson as well. And that was super awesome just because Cuba has such a strong influence in African culture as well. And so he is awesome. I don't know a ton about the program. It's just part of our dance program on campus. So you definitely have the option to take African dance classes. And he is probably one of the only professors that I have seen take their class outside. So if it's a nice day on campus, Sharon Price will bring his whole class out to Stanford Mall and dance with students and have the drums out there. And it's a super awesome time. So good question. Yeah, he's a great guy. Yeah.
Hi, y'all. We have about 5 minutes left, so if you have any outstanding questions, go ahead and type them in the chat.
Yeah, feel free. And I'll just kind of flip through some of these as we go, so y'all can kind of see our football games on campus, really popular. That bottom section that you're seeing there, that's all student section. This is kind of a map of campus as well. So like I said, East Campus and West Campus, that main street down the middle you're seeing, that's what separates the two sides. So it's not actually that big. Lovely. Yeah, but feel free to ask me any last minute questions that y'all have. Oh, and then For the person that asked about African dance, I believe there's actually an African dance and drum ensemble on campus, and they do performances throughout the year too. So that's definitely something you can be a part of.
And I just posted a link in the chat. After we finish this meeting, please take a chance to fill out our survey for a chance to win a $20 gift card.
Do you have dance team? So yes, I believe so. So we kind of have dance in two different spectrums. We have kind of more of our club and classical dances, as well as we have a dance program, dance minor. There's a number of different dance clubs on campus and dance ensembles. We have a hip hop dance group, a K-pop dance group, classical, modern, things like that. And then I think we do also have maybe dance team that's kind of more related to like the cheerleading team side as well. So yes, I'm not sure what the audition process for that is. I believe typically it's in like the first 2 or 3 weeks of classes. Students typically audition for things like that. Let's see. Any other questions y'all have? I'm just trying to see if I have any other links that might be important for you all. Let's see. Oh, I believe on the questions that you all submitted, and I just want to point that one out, for students that might be undocumented or international, we do have an international counselor entirely, and then we do have a whole resource page for students that are undocumented, and I will put that there as well. So we do have a whole information page if anyone needs that, or if you know anyone that needs it. Yeah, no problem, Dwayne. Thank you for coming. Do you know if undocumented students can be business sponsorship to get in-state tuition? That is a good question. I do not actually know that in terms of business sponsorship. In-state tuition is kind of based on RDS, so Residency Determination Service, and they are who handles all residency claims for any UNC system school. So you will have to go through the RDS process for in-state tuition and things like that.
If that's all the questions, Tricia, would you mind putting your email if anyone has any outstanding questions that they maybe didn't want to ask on the chat?
Yeah, absolutely. That is totally fine. Yeah, and y'all feel free to reach out to me at any point if you have any other questions. It can be random questions, whatever works. I love talking to students. So yeah, feel free to shoot me an email anytime.
Thank you all so much for coming. We have another information session at 2 o'clock today with UNC Charlotte if you're interested in attending that. And if not, we have a full schedule of information sessions and workshops next week, so make sure to tune in to those as well. So thank you so much, Tricia. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me, and good luck, y'all, with the rest of your school year and things like that.